Better late than never, better late than never, forever hard to measure. I might see my future fall away, but you control time, so my future do what you say. Beautiful day, folks. Man, it is right now. It's July, July in the summer of Richmond, Virginia. So I get the pleasure of chopping it up with a buddy of mine, DeJuan Brown. And
Hey,
we're joined here what I call like the better late than never series. The heart behind it is helping folks to get from point A to point B in their lives. And simultaneously, there's always like barriers and things that we're struggling with. So I'm joined here with DeJuan, man, to just kind of have a dope conversation. DeJuan, how you doing, big dog?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I can't complain one bit. We're at hump day right now. It's summer. It's hot and humid in Virginia, as you already know, and it's a lively time for the family. So
Amen. Amen. So I kind of preface, man, the heart behind this is to help people in their careers. But before we get so, man, uh DeJuan, you one of the most fashionable people I know, man. I get a chance to watch your personal brand online. And even though we haven't like physically met, even though we're in the same city, I be
yeah.
peeping game, bro. You a fashionable person, man. Tell me about your drip game, man. Where does it come from?
Man, I tell you, a lot of it probably. I mean, obviously, when I was young, I grew up I'm born in '75, so I came up when like hip hop was beginning to be the backdrop of everything that I did, and even shaping some of my worldview and mindset earlier on. And so, a lot of that came from like the hip hop game at the time, right? Like whether it be Run DMC,
Ooh,
with the
okay.
Adidas and the shell toes, and
Yeah.
you kind of transition that. We went through that period where it was like Public Enemy and Brand Nubian, and we had the African medallions and whatnot.
Ooh,
So like there was these in the HBCU sweatshirts and all of that.
yeah.
So like a different world, and some of the shows that I watched, had some real fashion forward people. So it started there. And then I think like as I started to have kids, man, you gotta remember I have a 28-year-old son, a 20-year-old son, an 18, 16, 13-year-old daughters at this point, and an 11-year-old too. So I can't be that dad.
That's facts. That's fact. You know what's funny? You say that too. It's like I feel like maybe a generation ago, like when kids look at their parents, they be like, man, like it's to a point of like obviously respect where kids always have respect for their parents, but it's to a point where like you care about your parents, your brand being accepted by your peers.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're in a generation like us as parents, we kind of cool. Like we kind of like we hip. I'm curious from you, man. I frame it as a question, like how your kids perceive you, man. It's like, do they think dad got style? How they feel about pops?
Yeah, they love how I what they would consider the originality of my style. I mean, it'd be days I come out and I have on like the big fur, like hunter's cap, and
Wow.
a tank top and some jean shorts. You know what I mean, with some Jordans, and they like that originality. I mean, it's always a mix with my kids. So if they love like aspects of my style, and
Yeah.
they would acknowledge, the I have the most forward and progressive dad jokes in vicinity. You know what I mean?
I
Like,
love it. I love it,
nice
bro.
balance.
Man, that's a beautiful thing, man. I want to dive in, man. So obviously, like we're kind of breaking the ice a little bit, man. I would love for you to share with folks who don't know you. Who is DeJuan, man? Tell me about yourself, like your background, what you do for a living.
Yeah, yeah. Like I'm DeJuan Brown, man. I'm a 50-year-old who has been through a lot of the things that I mean, we shared space and time at Merit America, and like a lot of the reason I was even drawn to that is because of the ethos and the big why as it relates
Yeah.
to underserved communities in a lot of ways, people who just haven't had access to the information that they would need to be able to actually change the trajectory of their lives and their families. The reason I was drawn to it is because I come from that exact background, right? And so it was my life story that I was seeing like chronicled in the life stories of the people that we were serving at, and the orgs and companies we were serving at Merit. And that's still who I am. So like I am a person who comes from very meager means, inner city background, born and raised. 16-year-old mother is who birthed me. just the all of the and everything that comes with that, whether it be the stigmas, whether it be the challenges, whether it be the what seemed to be a lack of access. And so today I'm a person who's trying to bridge that, continually trying to bridge that gap. Obviously I have 6 kids, as I mentioned to you. A beautiful wife, and we have similar goals, right? It's like it's very frustrating to know that sometimes the difference between have and have not is just information.
Yeah.
And so in whatever role I'm in, and today I'm an account executive. I've been in sales or sales leadership for the last 23 years, one way or another. But the goal is to leverage those skills, to leverage the resources that I'm able to acquire because of the position that I'm in, to somehow continue to bridge that gap, right?
Yeah.
And that gap is growing bigger and bigger and bigger with the advent of AI, especially as we think about the wealth gap between the minorities and those and the majority, right? So that's kind of who I am, man. Like I'm all my goal is to be a person of interest. My goal is to be a person of value, but that value is sharply focused and centered on human flourishing.
Hey man, that's a beautiful thing. You know what's dope, man, is like you're somebody that is like the content that you put out online is really not it's not curated. It's really like a overflow from your natural story. And one of the things I remember hearing earlier, like after you and I chopped it up, you kind of did an informational interview prior to getting hired with Merit. But then I
Mhm.
started looking at the content you were posting. One thing that stood out to me was like at the early stages of your career, I remember you talking about like there was either a mentor, supervisor, somebody that kind of nudged you like to want you to get more, right? Can you
Mhm.
speak to a little bit about like the early career of Dewan and like the perhaps like the people that help cultivate and get the most out of you and just kind of help you to get to where you are now? Can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, yeah, no, that's a great question. Early on, I mean, especially in my sales career, not even especially, like early on in my sales career, which was my career,
Yeah.
to begin with, man, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know which way was up. I'm literally that person that I just described, right? I come from a background where like we had the resources that we had access to the things we had access to. For me, right, like climbing whatever, social professional ladder, uh, looked a lot different than it does for some other people. And so like I just didn't know. So I had a friend of mine who was just we rapped together all the
Yeah.
time. Like I've been rapping since I was like 14. So we
Okay.
rapped together. We would do open mics together. He would hit the congos and I would be in there, spitting in the living room and all of that stuff. So we were just real tight. We did everything together.
So, what is the Job Success Accelerator? I'm glad you asked. The Job Success Accelerator is career readiness, it's professional skills for the real world, it's communication, teamwork, and conflict navigation. The Job Success Accelerator is built with 2 core publications, are preparing for job success and essentials for the job search curriculum. It's proven content transformed into practice. This program gives participants the tools to land jobs and the skills to keep them. It prepares youth, young adults, and professionals in transition. We partner with local, state, and federally funded programs with K-12 schools, universities, nonprofits, community-based organizations, one-stop operators, justice-involved programs, career, technical centers, and much more. The Job Success Accelerator is flexible, in-person or virtual, facilitated by us or licensed for your team to implement. So, what is the Job Success Accelerator? It's the difference between showing up for work and being ready for success.
And then he had gotten a job at Intuit at the time at the time they had a web team, and so he had gotten in on a web team, and I was waiting tables, I was bartending, and I was highly successful as far as I understood in that space. But he was just like, man, D Brown, like you're made for so much more. Like the
Mhm.
way that you can, you read the room, the way your attention to detail, the way that you communicate with people. You got people coming into the restaurant, filling your whole section with people who have asked for your requested your section, right? Like that
Wow.
doesn't happen in this space. And so like you should definitely do something bigger. And in fact, I'm over here at this company. You should apply here. And I was just like, man, they not going. I don't know nothing about sales. They're not going. I'm who I am, which at the time was far different than who I am today. So
That's
they're
right.
not even gonna think about me. And he just kept his foot on my neck, Q,
Mm,
until like for a year, until I finally was just like, bruh, like just to get you to leave me alone, I would apply. You know what
right.
I'm saying? And I applied and I got like a flex time role.
Okay.
And at the time, that was like 16 hours a week, no benefits or anything like that. I had my son was my 28-year-old today. He lives in France, but at the time he was real young, probably like 3 or 4. And so I needed the benefits but didn't, you know what I mean? But it didn't have it. So I was just like, Mike was just like my guy, Mike Brooks. He was like, just get your foot in the door.
Yeah.
I got a feeling you're gonna progress your way through it and you'll get full time in no time. And so another mentor, Mark Dean. I shout him out so often on LinkedIn. Somebody probably thinks he's paying me. But Mark Dean also saw something in me that I didn't see in myself
Yeah.
whatsoever. I was dumb rough around the edges. I posted a picture of, the early days at Into It, man. I had on the triple extra large Rockaway t-shirt,
Oh,
Technic jeans, you know what I mean? The baseball cap slung low, uh,
right.
and the whole thing. But Mark saw something in me, man, and just took me under his wing, made sure that I understood like how to translate what skills I did have and what aptitude I did have into like the professional realm without losing myself to some degree.
Wow.
And I progressed through that organization and I was at Intuit for 12 and a half years, and went through pretty much I pretty much hit the ceiling of what I was able to do there,
Hmm.
apart from leadership, which I didn't want at the time. And that's when I moved over to Bloomberg and I had another leader who was extremely integral into, my next phase of growth. So it's always been somebody who saw something I didn't see, gave me information and insight, and transferred their belief in me to me,
Man.
to get me to where I'm at today.
Man, that's a beautiful thing, man. And it's like I don't think it's no surprise the power of folks really invested in us and seeing
Yeah,
us. We talk often about the power of networking, but I'm just taking it a step further, man. Like the two folks that you just mentioned, because you made a huge call out that like when you even though you at the early stages of Intuit, you still rough around the edges, like your brand, quote unquote, didn't fit corporate America, but yet those people still saw something in you that was so much more than just what most people would see on the outside. And I
yeah,
wonder kind of twofold. I wonder how much of that impacts like many other folks that like, there's so much potential that's not cultivated, but yet maybe themselves or others perhaps only see the exterior and they're not getting close enough to actually see so much more of the potential. And on the flip side, for us ourselves, right, where we kind of disqualify, because 100 bands, DeJuan, you could have said, your homeboy, like he was nudging you for a year. And I know you made the preface that just to get bro off your back, I'm gonna apply and see what happens. But you didn't have to do that. Like
right.
something inside of you still wanted more for yourself. You know what I'm saying? I would love to kind of go there for a little bit, man, because I see
Yeah,
you as a thought leader. The reason why I want to even have this conversation, on the surface, you have a unique skill set when I think about the industry of sales, but you have a superpower of developing relationships. You're also a force multiplier because there's things that I see in terms of programming, events, and then brand building, capacity building that you do, just by power of your skill of communicating and things of that nature. But kind of going back a little bit, man, can you speak a little bit to like for you as a thought leader, as a coach, somebody that helps others, like why do you think that is, and how do we how would you encourage folks that are kind of maybe disqualify themselves, or perhaps
mhm.
like how can we also encourage those that have potential like you had that just is kind of not visible yet?
Yeah, yeah. Man, that's a great line of thinking. For a couple of reasons, right? Like first, I would say this is a little bit funny, a little bit cheeky, right? Like I had a guy tell me one time because I still struggle with betting on myself in certain areas, right? So like I,
Okay.
I would encourage anybody who finds themselves, if the story that I just told resonates with you, right? Like namely that, somebody is seeing something in you, you don't really believe it. Um, I would say, in the words of like one of my mentors, he told me, he said, man, like the only difference between you and a person who has far, far less skill than you, maybe even knowledge than you, just by virtue of time, um, is that they just do it.
Mm.
Right. The difference is they do it. It's purely execution. It's not intelligence. It's not access. It's not insight. It's not resources. It's just like you will think about it and talk yourself out of it 5 times while this
Wow.
person over here who doesn't know any better just goes and does it. Right.
Yeah.
And there's 1,000 examples of that, right? Whether it be like putting out music. I talk, like Russ is one of my favorite artists because I've been listening to him since SoundScan, right? And
Mhm.
this guy's he's just putting out he just loves his own music. He put it out once a week, and now he's a huge international global star. But it started with him just doing it versus
Yeah.
not doing it. So the one thing I would encourage people with is like, if you have an idea, like, and we all have ideas, like whether
Yeah.
it's because we watched a movie or we watched this particular TV show or we saw somebody else do it, we all have these big ideas about how we can change our lives and the lives of our family.
It was good, family. God has called me to help people to align and maximize their calling with their purpose. And one of the ways that I do that is through writing. My first book is called Purpose Driven Work, which focuses on helping people to get unstuck in their dreams, callings, and their careers. My second book is Purpose Driven Coaching, which really focuses on helping educators, leaders, and workforce development professionals to use coaching to make an impact on individuals' lives. And then lastly, my most recent book is called On Purpose Leadership, which I wrote with my homeboy Vad Lee, which focuses on cultivating leadership for teams and organizations. You guys can purchase any one of my books on Amazon. Y'all be blessed out here, man.
Where we fall most often is we don't take the steps toward it whatsoever.
Yeah,
It just stays right here.
yeah,
So, man, that line from my mentor really hits me. So I want to give that line to somebody else. Like, look, the difference between you and somebody you see successful in a space that you believe you can be successful in is that you not moving,
mm,
right?
that's so good.
Motion, like get some motion and get some movement going, and then you can really see what you can do. The other side is that you know the people who believed in me that spoke into my life. I wasn't believing them. And so many people that's probably listening to this find themselves in a similar position where they people are telling them some things about themselves. If they believed it,
Yeah,
it'll change a lot of things. So
yeah,
my challenge and encouragement is try them.
mm,
You know what I mean? If somebody tells you like, yo, you should be doing X, Y, and Z, like, oh man, I see this in you, I see that in you.
that's right.
Experiment in those spaces, experiment in those areas. Like the very worst that could happen is it doesn't pop. The
Yeah,
very best that could happen is it pops, and those people are right. You were wrong.
yeah,
You've learned more about yourself, and you've moved yourself into a different space. Um, so that's what I would say. And then the last thing is like those are the people who like it is, and I've said this on LinkedIn a couple times where it's just like it is an extraordinary competitive advantage to want to see other people win.
yeah,
So even if you don't believe that you have what it takes, or even if you don't believe that this thing is for you, even if you just look for other people who you do believe it's for and you help them achieve it, it's going to change your life too.
mm,
Right. So
mm,
so you don't have to be the one that says, I'm gonna jump off the porch. But if you see somebody else and you believe they should jump off the porch, like wrap your arms around them, provide your resources, time, energy, talents, whatever it is, to see them get off the porch. And by virtue of that, you will get off the porch yourself. And that's old Zig Ziglar, where he says, like,
mm.
essentially the best way to get what you want to need is to help as many people as humanly possible get what they want to need. And I find that to be true in life too.
Man, that is you just gave a master class, man. And just to encourage you, that's kind of what I see you do. Like I see you as a value giver before a value taker. You know what I'm saying? I think that you
Yeah.
really embody that as a person and as a professional, man. Because I see you when I like the work that you've done at Merit, but also when I just look at you from afar, like you're inquisitive and building these relationships to see how can I help others. And in turn, like it does provide value in various means. But I think that's a very, really good call out. And as you was processing too, I couldn't help but to think about like have you heard of Sam Presti, the GM from Oklahoma City, the Thunder?
No.
So, like he's been with the organization probably like 15 plus years. And he a hip hop head. I ain't know this. Like white guy, when you see him, like he swagged out. But he was like one of his quotes that he lived by is by Tribe Called Quest. It was like scared money don't make money. And like as you know, like he had KD, Hall of Famer, James Harden, Hall of Famer,
Yeah,
Russell Westbrook, Hall of Famer, and then a bunch of notable guys like Serge Ibaka, what's his Big Perkins. So
yeah,
that team was stacked back in the day, right? They should have won. They should have won at least one NBA championship, but how it unfolded, they didn't win. But he made some moves as a GM that were questionable, right? Like, bringing on what's his name from who went to Indiana, PG, Paul George,
oh yeah,
trading Russell Westbrook. He made some moves, got rid of KD, but he played his pieces the long game, right? And so he has a roster that's just unmatched right now. And they won the NBA championship with Shea Gildress in that squad. So I give that as an example, like, his he should have had early success. And honestly, he should have like really fell off and probably got fired as a GM, but he stayed consistent and he bet on himself. He bet on making some strategic long-term pieces. And I love that quote of scared money don't make money. And I think that's kind of what I get from what you were telling me just now, where all of us, have a choice, a conscious decision to make when it comes to like investing in our not just our careers, but these natural talents and gifts. Because what we're talking about is not exclusive to being, a head of sales or a program manager. What we're talking about is cultivating gifts that's going to be fruitful for others. But if you don't cultivate it or help others cultivate it, it's not gonna grow, man. So I think that speaks volumes to what you shared, brother. Um,
yeah, yeah. No, that's good. I like
yeah,
that. Scared money don't make money. It sure don't.
yeah, yeah. Shout outs to Tribe Called Quest. I want to so my nerd zone. I'm a career coach by trade, and ironically, as a coach, I'm managing other coaches, so I don't actually to coach as much as I used to anymore. But I enjoy coaching. One of the things that I like to like learn more about is like
Mhm.
what people do, like the world of work and how they got to where they are.
Yeah,
So I know you have a rich sales background, right? Right now, I'm looking at your LinkedIn, strategic account director for Workiva. Tell
yeah.
me a little bit about like what's the day in the life look like for the work that you do, and you also work for some prominent organizations. We've worked at Merit America, but Microsoft being a big dog in the tech space.
Yeah.
Fringe. Tell us a little bit about like what does an executive sales professional do? What's that world look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think in its best frame, what we do as sellers and sales professionals is we help people and organizations to solve problems, right? I mean, they have to be big problems. They have to be business oriented problems in most cases at the strategic level. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's just like, it's a few things you have to answer. Do I understand your business and your organization? Do you have a problem? Do you recognize you have a problem? Is it a problem that I can help you to shed light on? Um, how big is the problem? Who cares about the problem? What is the problem costing you? How have you tried to solve the problem in the past? And then, how solving the problem with us, for every dollar you spend, we can help you to see $2 back in return,
Mm,
right? That's really it,
mm,
right? Like, so when I talk to people that say I can never be in sales and things like that, I said, well, you already are, right?
mm.
You know what I mean? Are you an iPhone user? You talk to any iPhone user, they'll give you every diatribe as to the problems you should be seeing. If you're ever an Android user, why it doesn't make sense to use Android and why iPhone is better, right? You talk to any Thunder fan, and they'll tell you all of the reasons why the Thunder is awesome and the decisions that have been made at the highest end of the organization and how that trickles down to the organization that is at hand and why that organization is better than the next team. Right? That's sales, right? So I think it was Pink who said, and he had a book. To sell is human. I think it was Pink. To sell
Mm,
is human, and one of the things he talks about is like selling is just moving someone from
mm,
a place that they are to a place that they'd rather be in some sense, right? Um, my daughters tell me all the time when they tell me why they can do their homework later rather than now, right? That's a whole sales process, right?
Right.
Like, you know what I
Yep.
mean? So, today, who I serve is financial services organizations, primarily insurance companies, and we serve them by helping them to build like a real like discipline of excellence around all of their reporting internally across their enterprise. So,
Mhm.
very tedious processes this financial reporting stuff is, regardless of what type of reporting you're doing, whether it's going to external to auditors or just internal for management. It's extremely tedious and it's extremely manual in its way, and it's not a lot of ways to have an
Sure.
audit trail or controls around it. And so the solution that we bring to the table puts those controls in place in the same platform that it gives you, auditability, collaboration capability, and automation. So that's the simple. So what's the problem? The problem is, right, like that businesses suffer when they can't get their reporting done in a timely fashion.
Mm.
Businesses suffer when their reporting can't be audited. Businesses suffer when they can't point to the controls that are governing their processes internally. And because businesses suffer, it can cost, right? That's a problem, and we help to solve that through automation and solutions to bring all of that into one source of truth, one platform. So that's what we do today. But sales in general is just like finding a problem that needs a solution, that is a big problem or can become a big problem, has big implications, and then asking the right questions to reveal that, and then to help solve it.
Mm. That's poetic, man. I think like how you articulate it and just also like there's a relationship between you and I, and there's a trust that I have for you. And I think that based off of what you've articulated, I would be more interested in exploring a career like in sales just based off of those factors there. And that's why I think it's important for us to have a combination of like mentorship and conversations, just normal like networking conversations that most of us don't have, right? So,
Yeah.
and just to preface this before I ask another question, like as a career coach, I see us going back to school, which is nothing wrong with getting a 2 year, 4 year degree. I
Right.
see us doing that more often than just having informational interviews to learn more about what people do. And that's an
Yeah.
expensive investment. Like I got 2 degrees, but if I can shorten the process of going back to school by just having a convo of learning what people do, I think it's far more efficient.
Heck
Um,
yeah.
tell, tell, tell me a little bit. So you have sales, but also like leadership experience
Hmm.
in the field across different industries. So
Hmm.
being a career coach nerd, like I know there's nuances and changes to the worlds that we work in based off the industry. So you
Yeah.
coming from education tech, also like IT, which Microsoft is they have the footprint in everything. So I'm just
Right.
their technology, but it's still kind of everything. Financial services. Tell us a little bit about like your relationship with sales and the differences that you've seen and experienced like across the different industries you've worked in.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I've been fortunate, man, in that, and I say this, you know, my disposition today, and it's been my disposition for a long time, is that I've never worked for a competitor of a company that I've worked for,
Okay.
right?
Wow. Yeah.
And a part of that is because of belief, right? Like
Mm,
if I truly believe that the solution that we're bringing to the market for a specific industry or persona, person, group, people, organization, is the best in the space, then like that helps me as I'm telling the stories and helping you to sort of unravel problems and challenges and things like that. Um, so across all industries and whatever space that I've occupied as a seller or sales leader, I believed myself to be in the position, fortunately and thankfully, to represent like the best in class,
sure.
of the thing, of the
Yeah.
solution. And so with that, not a lot changes. I mean, and this is how I encourage other people who think about getting into sales. It's like ultimately, if you have a passion to help people solve problems,
Mm,
and that varies, complexity of those problems vary, right? Like when I first started selling that into it, it was just like I ran out of checks. I need a check reorder.
yeah.
Right? I want to help you solve that problem. Like, what types of checks do you want? Like, do you want color on them? Do you need your logo on them? Like, this was That was the sales cycle at the beginning. But it's no different than, the sales cycle when I was at Microsoft, right?
Mhm,
It's still very much people serving people.
mhm.
And people serving people to serve their orgs and to improve the way that they do that and with the level of productivity and efficiency that they can do that in. And so it's a little difference in terms of the personalities of the people that you're selling to. So I sold HR tech for quite some time,
Mm,
and frankly, that's been like some of my favorite conversations.
mhm.
You're talking to HR people who are people.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? And it's a beautiful thing. We could go and we had these conversations about all sorts of things, but at the end of the day,
Oh, hey, it's you again. The one that is watching this content but ain't subscribed to the channel. Listen, I'm a YouTube embryo, but I have dreams of one day being a full-grown YouTube man. In order to get there, I need your help. Subscribe to the channel. I am trying to help people in their dreams, their callings, and careers, and to help scale that growth. All you got to do is help a brother by hitting that subscribe button. Bless your brother so I can bless others. It's that simple. Be blessed.
do you have a problem that's big enough that you need to solve it, and can we help you solve it? Right.
Okay. Okay.
And so persona, IT directors and VP, CIOs and things like that, just different personalities generally. But again, at the end of the day, do you have a problem that's big enough that you need to solve it? And is it something that we can help you to solve?
That's
Right.
fair.
So differences just because of the people that you're dealing with. Sometimes you're dealing in an industry that's regulated. So that
Yeah.
brings a little bit of regulatory nuance to what it is you do. But at the end of the day, it's always the same question that you need to answer.
That's fair. You cracked open the egg. I wasn't expecting to go, man, but I'm gonna go here. So you said that as a professional, when you navigate your career, you intentionally don't go to competitors of the previous organization, right? I'll
Right.
keep 100 bands, man. Somebody offer me 10%, 20% pay increase, right?
Right.
More flexibility, and it's my company's competitor. I'm gonna have to take a strong look. See, speak to that, man. Like how, like I mean, you kind of echo like that's kind of like your character, your belief system. But why is that, right? Somebody offer you like 20, 50% more than what you've gotten. That's hard to turn down, man. Be in that area, brother.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I again, like I've had a very unique, I think, career portfolio. So, you know, a part of it is like I don't, I'm just not, I'm not a person that just picks up the playbook and is like, all right, boom, this is my job. I'm gonna just go do this.
Mm,
Right? Like I have to have I'm like I want to be 100% authentic. Like so if I tell you that I believe that we can help you to solve this problem, then we can help you solve it in a unique way, better than, better and different than anyone else in the industry,
yeah,
then I don't know how I would feel going to the other people in the industry and saying the same thing, knowing that I
that's
just
so
said that
good.
about that. Like I just it just I can't I haven't been able to do it. But what
Yeah.
I have been able to do instead is, I've been a 5-time boomerang.
Mm, okay.
So across my career, like I was at Intuit, I ended up being there twice, right? I was at Bloomberg, I ended up being there twice. Different roles. Like it's usually I come back and it's an elevated role, more responsibility and things like that. I was at Seismic twice.
Hmm.
I don't think there's anybody in the space that Seismic occupies that does what they do better.
Yeah.
It would be really difficult for me to have spent time there, learned that solution, understood like the deep differentiation in the market, and then go and try to sell something else that's
That's so
in the same
good.
space and market. Like I can't do it because my passion is tied to my passion is tied to the authenticity of my message
Hmm.
and the story that I tell. And so unless something changes technologically within the platform or the solution or the market shifts in a meaningful way, um, the leaders that I worked for while they were leaders, they're still leaders. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So my goal would be then if I needed to move back into that space or that industry or that particular line of problem solving, I'd rather try to go back to the company that I started that with because I still
Mhm.
believe that. And that's why I went back to Seismic again. That's why I went back to Microsoft again. That's why I went back to Intuit again. That's why I went back to Friends again. Right. You see, the pattern is not me going and trying to find how I can do that same thing and replicate success with a competitor. My strategy is like, look, I still believe that y'all are the best in the space. If I'm going to partner in this space, I want to partner with you all again.
Yeah. That's good. Man, I think like the cool thing is I I pick up on like what you value just by way of you navigating your career. And so one of the things, as you're kind of, no pun intended, as a salesperson, you're selling me on like knowing like the work that you do, you believe in it first, right?
Right.
There's a belief factor. Um, Under all of the work that you do, like you're a storyteller. You're
Yeah.
someone like cultivates and values relationship building, but you're telling a story of how, like, whether it's the product or service or the people behind the product or service, like you feel strongly about like making sure you articulate very clearly and concisely to whoever you're trying to engage the story, right? Those
Yeah.
are kind of two big values that I heard. And then I like as you kind of echoed like your 5-time boomerang, um, like I think there's a level of intention that I hear and sense when you navigate your career. So most of us as professionals, like one, let me just set the groundwork. Like the idea of a career is actually, it's a privilege. Most of us in the workforce will have jobs just to make sure we, provide for ourselves and our family. So most of us won't actually have careers, but the idea of a career is an identity construct that when you're doing work that aligns with who you are as a person. So I say that to say, for you, a big value, one of the third values I heard was like there's intention behind like how I do work, meaningful work, and how it aligns with me. Is that kind of correct to say? Am I picking up on things like that?
Yeah, I think that's really astute, an observation. I mean, I'm not 20 anymore, right? So, so I mean, what, and I mean that
Yeah.
to say like there is a period of time in your career when um, there may be an opportunity that requires you to sort of disconnect or decouple
Hmm.
like your deep inner passions from the work that you're doing because you need to gain experience. You need to, learn like aspects of the professional life and corporate America and all of the things that are associated with that. And so you're gonna have some what you might deem as sacrificial years
Yeah,
early on. But I mean, I'm 50, so like at this point in my career, I'm not necessarily willing to do that.
that's so good.
Right. And so the decoupling of like who Dewan is from the work Dewan does and how Dewan does that work, um, that probably ended sometime in the early 90s, right? Late
Hmm.
90s, right?
That's fair.
So it's like now is this whole and I think, to the credit of uh, I think the industries themselves, I think to the credit of, people who have been like beating the drum of, radical authenticity and
Hmm.
radical selfhood and like, being genuine and bringing your full self to work and all of those things like that over the last decade or more. I think even you have that opportunity even at younger and younger ages, as
Hmm.
well. But I like to think about career in the phase of like three games.
Mm.
Right? So you have pinball and you have checkers and then you have chess.
Yeah.
Right. And so that pinball period is like, what pinball is. You pull the thing back, you don't know what's going to happen. You hope it hits one of those things that just,
Yeah.
racks up a bunch of points and things like that, but you don't know. You just, all you want to do is make sure it doesn't go straight down the middle.
Yep.
Right. Not a lot of thought, not a lot of strategy, just like, free fall playing.
Yeah.
Then you move into a phase, and these phases vary in terms of the age at which you enter them. But the next phase is checkers, where it's a little bit more strategic, not quite full on strategic. You're not needing to be 3, 4 steps or moves ahead, but it is still about the accumulation of pieces, right?
Hmm.
The more pieces of yours that I can take off the board, the actual better chance I have of winning, the
That's so
more
good.
pieces I can acquire, the more accolades I get, the more. So, there was a section of my career where it was all about trophies and first place and, president's clubs and doing all of these things like that. Now, I still care about those things to a degree, but it's just, it's at a different
Yeah.
priority level. Then you move into chess where it's just like now I need to really be thoughtful about my career. And sometimes it'll look like I'm making a dumb move because I
Hmm.
gave up my queen. But in reality, the goal of the game is not the acquisition of pieces, it's the control of the center of the board.
Wow.
Checkmate. It's entirely different. So like I can do things like give up my queen or like all of a sudden I moved backwards with my knight. It feels like a backwards move. Like there's no rhyme or reason and nothing is really nothing is really um linear
Yeah.
in this phase of the game, just like it's not with chess. But you can still accomplish checkmate in ways that seem to be counterintuitive to others if you and as long as you are 3, 4, steps ahead or moves
That's so
ahead.
good. Man, that's beautiful. So I have a huge I want to thought because I want to steer the convo one way, but you said something I want to just bring up. So I'm gonna put a pin in this one because I want to talk
Yeah.
about the influence of AI and how
Hmm.
we navigate our careers and how it's changing our workforce. I want to get to that. But before I do so, can you tell me a little bit, man, about like a move that you made in the past that might not made much sense to anybody else, but
Hmm.
for you, it was an intentional chess move, and I'm gonna lead the way. Like I remember for um, me and my wife have like always been in higher education up into the last I guess what 6 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, pre-COVID. And
Yeah.
so we had to intentionally make moves career wise while one accelerates, one kind of has to like pause a little bit so that we can manage our household, but also not compete for the same jobs because we're both kind of career development professionals by trade. So there was one move that I made to go from Harrisonburg when we were working at JMU to come to Richmond, VCU. And the move, honestly, I made less money, but it was
Yeah.
intentionally to geographically move in order so we can have more opportunities. Because essentially, we were just relegated to JMU, which is the only university out there. To now, we knew that we could transition either at VCU or outside because there's more industry in Richmond. So that was one move that on a paper most people probably wouldn't have took a pay cut, but I had to do that with strategy. What about you, where you had to make a chess move career wise?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that question. Because there've been a many of them. Some of them have been involved in like, pay cuts. Some of them have been involved in like moves. I think one of the chess moves that, I eventually made was, and super, super fully supportive wife in this exploit was moving from Richmond and moving our entire family to California for a
Uh,
period. um, and I say it was a chess move because it was extraordinarily risky, right? We moved into a house sight unseen. We didn't know anything about any community in California, much less the community we were moving to and the community I'd be working in. But it was still a great move. I mean, we ended up only being in California for like 4.5 months, um, and it stretched us in ways that we would have never wished for. That's for sure.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but ultimately, I was able to build some really strong relationships, and I learned a tremendous amount working in at the time, it was my first startup, like full on
Mhm.
startup, in the tech SaaS space, very complex sales, technically heavy, in terms of the solution itself. And like in that 4.5 months, I would argue that I received a 2.5 year education in sales,
That's so
in
good.
SaaS, in tech, in process, and in leadership from the gentleman who was my leader at the time, who I'm still friends with today. Like we still text today. His name is Naveed, and he's now leading GTM over at with Zapier.
Okay.
And so he's a phenomenal guy. Like, and I just learned we sat right beside each other for that whole time.
Mhm.
And it was like a master class, an advanced MBA in all things startup tech sales, right? And so, brought that back over here into all of my subsequent positions and roles. And a lot of what I learned from him and that organization, that full organization, I sat right in front of the CEO, the COO, the CMO, right? Like they were all in one room. And we all sat together and learned from each other. And so that
Mm.
that sort of was a great foundation for all of the things that I've done since then.
Man, and it's one thing I just want to keep echoing. I kind of talked earlier about like I'm not against getting our degrees, right? I got two of them, but you made a huge emphasis that like that 4.5 months that you were there, it's kind of like getting 2 years, 3 years worth of work experience.
Yeah.
And I tell younger folks all the time when I do programs that skills pay the bills. And so like, yes, you might have an educational background and said thing. Like my undergrad is kinesiology, which is to study how the body moves. I'm not using my degree, quote unquote, but along the
Right.
way, I've developed skills and honestly industry knowledge to help me to navigate my career. And that's what I'm hearing from you. It's like it was a cost, like uprooting your family for 4 or 5 months. That's a sacrifice. But when you zoom out, and it's really like a blimp on a radar where you probably expedited your career because there's so much industry knowledge, skills you've acquired that open up the door for other things, man. So I really
Yeah.
appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's important to note too, like, I mean, I think the value of and I'm not gonna argue against it. I don't personally have my degree. Like I didn't finish school.
Hmm.
Um, my eldest son finished, graduated with honors, has his master's, lives in France, working in his career. Like that's awesome. Like
Yeah.
I have no nothing but pride for that. My next son is 20 years old. He's a third year Morehouse computer science major.
Wow.
Right, like extraordinarily proud of him. He's doing an internship right now. He's killing it. He's doing big things. My daughter we just dropped her off this past weekend for her, the start of her first year experience as a 4 year collegiate, right? Like I'm an advocate of education. What I think has changed about how we should be thinking about it and how I try to encourage my kids to think about it is like, okay, what are the problems you want to solve
Yeah.
in this world, right? And then what do you need to learn in order to be able to do that?
Hmm.
You go to college with that in mind,
Hmm.
and you leverage that time in college to build the relationships, to learn the things that you need to learn in order to actually do and accomplish the things you want to accomplish. And you drive the experience. You don't let the experience drive you,
That's
right?
good.
So it's not like you're going to college and you're majoring in a thing and then you're hoping that that thing that you major in.
It was good, family. Better Late Than Never is more than just an album. It's a concept that it's never too late for us to change our mindsets and our lifestyles. This project was exclusively produced by my homeboy, Matlock, who has produced for some of the best artists in the world, including Lil Wayne. You guys can catch this project and stream it on all platforms, including Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, you name it, it's there. As you guys tune in to Better Late Than Never, it's my prayer that this project helps you to live a purpose-driven life. Be blessed.
Puts you into a position to get a good job and things of that nature. Like that's really reactive,
Yeah,
right? So if you're going to go to college, you're going to spend that money, you're going to make that investment, then it should be a little bit more proactive. It should be a little bit more strategic as you think about it. And you might need all 4 years. You might not,
yeah, yeah.
right? To get to what it is you were going to get to. Like you went there for a reason. It's like when I do CrossFit, I'm not going in there trying to compete. I'm not trying to make the games, right? I have a goal when I go in there in a day, and I'm going to do what I need to do to accomplish that goal. And it's going to look a lot different than the workout that they wrote on the board
That's so good.
every time.
He said every time.
So that's the approach, and that's how I think about it. And once you figure out what are the problems I want to solve, what am I passionate about, what does the world need, what can I get paid from? This is the whole Ikigai principle or
Mm,
process or thought process. Once you think about that, that's when you can weigh the utility of a 4 year degree
mm.
versus not.
Man, listen, bro, yeah, look, you got about 30 books inside of you, man. This is like masterclass. I feel like I need to be sending you some money for the gems that you're dropping. But it's well said, man. Think of you kind of emphasize like you majoring in your education, don't let your education major you, something
Yeah,
along those lines. And I think it's just a level of intentionality. It's so much more we can go there, but one of the other things I wanted to talk about with you in particular was you shared thoughts on AI, like as you're at with your
yeah,
personal brand, you're leveraging AI to do so.
yeah.
Tell me from a 10,000 foot view, man, how has and how do you think, because we can be futuristic with this, uh,
Mhm.
is our workforce, our world of work changing with artificial intelligence, man? Can you speak to that just kind of broadly?
Yeah, man. This is another passion piece of mine is again, we talked about earlier like the sometimes the separation between like the haves and the have-nots is purely information.
Hmm.
Now we saw some examples of that when the pandemic hit, right? Like it was, some families was just like, "Oh, they said school is going online. No problem. You can use my office. Go in there,
Hmm.
use my computer and we're up and running in 24 hours." And in other cases, it was just like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? I don't have childcare. Like, who's going to be there with the kids? Like, we don't actually have a computer. Our internet's not reliable. Same exact time frame, same exact occurrence, two totally different outcomes based on access and what was available.
Yeah.
I think AI and the utility of AI ubiquitously across life, all of life and business, is accelerating that divide and that gap at an all-time
Mm.
high, right?
Yeah.
So, if I'm talking to somebody today and they're like, what's a prompt? I'm not mad. But I do realize that that means, right? Like, because listen, I follow so let me back up. So AI today, um, or when I first sort of got entrenched in AI, was probably early 2023-ish, right?
Mm.
So November 1, Microsoft puts out Copilot that goes GA. November 13th, I land back at Microsoft. So I'm privileged to be able to to work on the taking that product to market in some ways, and like really understanding the nuances around it, and then seeing the power of it across like a business stack and being like mind blown. Who would ever work without this once you've had it?
Yeah.
Right? That answer is like hardly nobody. And so instead of working without it, they're going to replicate it and try to find tools that do it and mimic it to make that part of their lives easier. Now,
Sure.
if we only looked at it from the perspective of, you're a highly skilled worker in this space, there's another highly skilled worker in this place, right? Like that worker is extraordinarily proficient with AI tools. And so they're able to really force multiply themselves. They're really able to really do 3, 4x what they normally are able to do because they know how to do it, number one, but then they also know how to collaborate with AI to do it faster and to do more of it. Right.
Yeah.
But you don't. Like that's your disadvantage. It's not that you like the job is going to disappear, but the hiring profile might change,
Yeah.
right? And the profile to be retained might change. In personal life is much the same. Like if you're when I sold CPA when I sold the CPA's tax preparation software to CPA firms, it was during the time I started that in the 2002
Mhm.
area, 2002. So let's call it 2004. I started selling software to CPA firms. I remember having conversations with people about electronically filing, and I literally had swaths of legacy CPAs telling me, like, over their dead body, would they ever file anything electronically,
Yeah.
right? And you fast forward to today, like whoever files a tax return by paper, like none of this stuff moves backwards,
Yeah.
right? And so if you think about AI today, it's the worst it's ever going to be,
Yeah. That's
right? And
yeah.
I follow a podcast that's a daily podcast. It's every single day they put out an episode, and they can't keep up with the advances, and they come out every day. So the opportunity is to use it in every sphere of life, to use it all the time and in all ways. I posted Connor Grennan had a post today about something very similar to this, like using it every day. And I said ubiquity is really the golden key,
Yeah.
right? That's the only way that we can stay ahead, and we have to embrace it. It's roll with or get rolled over, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Mm.
And so, what are the ways that we can have like on ramps for people to get people skilled to bridge the gap? These are some of the things that I'm now passionate about, and I'm actually looking for opportunities to have these conversations and to start to onboard and skill those who have been on the outskirts for whatever reason, to sort of bring them into a place where they can have a landing zone and then kind of take off from there.
Man, that's beautifully said. I'm a visual guy. I love stories, and I'm gonna use this person as an example. I don't promote their behaviors, the things that they got into, but you kind of know where I'm going here. It's once upon a time with Jay-Z, he gave the example of Kanye West. Like Kanye would do something creatively that's just off the wall. He goes across the other side of the mountain or the hill, I think was the story. It's like, look, guys, it's stuff over here. We can do this. And then that's when the rest of the industry follows. So Kanye's been kind of like the pioneer when you just think about like from late registration,
Yeah,
808s and heart rate. That was weird music if you kind of think about it.
yeah,
But the point that you're emphasizing, I use that as an example, is like there's like a frontier that's uncharted, and there's no such thing as kind of going back. But in the spirit for us that are probably not like, I'm not a technical professional, so as a career coach and a program manager, I have to like have some kind of like constant education in order to be proficient when it comes to new technologies. But that's kind of like blue ocean strategy. That's like new frontier that we all kind of have to embrace. But simultaneously, I do think like those of us that are like that are not tech savvy or trying to like learn new things, they will get rolled over for sure, and it creates more of a disparity. But I don't
Yeah.
know if you have any thoughts to that, but that's kind of what reminded me of, like, this new frontier is going to constantly be new. So we have to
Yeah.
make a conscious choice as professionals to make our decision. I wish, like, I have a hard stop at one, man. This is
Yeah.
like, I wish we had like a whole nother hour, but
Yeah.
maybe
No
we can
question,
plant a
man.
seed, bro, of having another convo, because like as I land the plane, I see you, Dewan, as a thought leader. Like this was a long time coming. And like I think all of us should, and we do have nerd zones, right? So this is Dewan's nerd area, man. I see you
Yeah.
as a huge thought leader when it comes to like not just sales, but like how do you bridge the gap between the next innovation that us in the workforce need to acquire in terms of skills. Like you're constantly putting out content along this lines, man. So I want to encourage you in that grain. Last question I want to ask, man, as a thought leader, like if you were to write a book, I don't know if you've written a book or a number of books, like what would you write about, man? What would those books be about? Who is the audience if you were to write a book?
Yeah, that's a phenomenal question. I don't know if anybody's ever asked me that question in that way. And I haven't written a book. I had a book in my brain for some years. This is one of those instances where it was just like I stayed on the porch. I didn't jump off the porch and just do it. But I might now, especially with the editorial help of my AI friends.
Amen.
Um,
That's right.
but like I'm really really big on the rarity of the either or case,
Okay.
right? Like it's every time I talk to somebody and we get into a space where it could be either or, like I end up being able to prove that it's really both and, or it's really
Mm,
two things can be true at the same time, or there's always this balance. There's always a false dichotomy to like fall to one side of the ditch or the other side of the ditch. There's always some space in the middle that we need to consider, and living in the tension is a very critical life skill, in my opinion. And
mm.
so that is across every aspect of life, personal, familial, professional, etc. So if I were to write a book, like my audience would be everybody, right? And helping everybody to get, more of a psychological and mental balance to the way that they see life and live through it, right? Because this whole black and white living is stymieing the growth and innovation, I think, of many, many generations, including my own. And it's also decreasing our ability to have grace one toward another.
Wow.
Because if I believe that it's this or it's nothing, right, it's going to be very difficult for me to have empathy towards you when you see things a different way, right? And so I believe that there's a such world that we can live in where we could say, like, this is what I believe strongly, but I'm curious and really want to understand what it is you believe. And we can actually say, I don't agree with that, but I understand how you got to it,
Yeah.
right? And if we can break that down, and whether that's poetry, poem after poem, or whether that's chapter after chapter, really proving that point out in some really realistic and accessible ways for people, I think it'll be a great service to those that read it.
Man, that's poetic. So what I heard from you, perhaps the title of this book could be somewhere along the lines of
Yeah, it could
both
be
and.
that. Yeah,
Okay.
it could definitely be that.
It sounds like a future New York Times bestseller to me. That's all I'm saying,
Appreciate
bro.
you, brother.
That's all I'm saying, man. Man, Dewan, this was a beautiful convo, brother. Just like I feel like I owe you some money, man. You're somebody, I keep saying thought leader, but there's a level of like poetry that you have as you like you navigate career, but also you inform us, you inform whoever has ears to hear, to whether it be innovating in workplaces, whether it be learning skills as a sales professional, whether it be learning about like hip hop.
Yeah,
Like you're somebody that's poetic in how you sort of influence and build relationships. So just continue to be you, bro. Man, it's such a blessing to be able to chop it up. Last question, I lied. Where can people get connected with you, man? I would love to,
yeah.
for folks to know how to connect with you.
Yeah, right now LinkedIn is probably the easiest way. I'm on there every single day. I started a Substack. I only have one entry on there, so I'll probably expand that. That may be the guts of where the book comes from
Okay.
over time. So those are the two primary ways, man. Like through LinkedIn, and then if through LinkedIn you find my Substack, then that'll be a great place to engage some of the writing as well.
Say less, man. Well,
Yeah.
look, we'll land this plane. I hope that whoever's listening got a lot of nuggets out. I know I have. Better late than never. I'm here with DeJuan Brown. Y'all be blessed. Peace. If you're listening to this video or watching this video, you are part of what I call the better late than never journey. And as a part of that journey, not only do I have these dope podcast interviews and these individuals from all walks of life, I also have a book that captures this, that's meant to really help all of us in our dreams, callings, and careers, and probably most importantly, to navigate those three things as we wrestle with our relationship with time. So it's taken me quite some time to publish this book, to really write this book and to publish it, but it's coming soon. If you look behind me, you guys can kind of see I'm working diligently behind the scenes. You all can pre-order the book now. I've got more than half of the book written. My goal is to publish this book November 2026. So tap in. If you want your copy of Better Late Than Never, Overcoming Fear and Failure to be the best version of yourself, go ahead and pre-order that book. You guys can support the movement and probably most importantly, help yourselves as you live out your dreams, callings, and careers. Talk to you soon. Be blessed.
Better late than never, better late than never, forever hard to measure. I might see my future fall away, but you control time, so my future do what you say.